Welcome, dear friends, to our full moon ceremony tonight. Tonight, we're going on Zoom because of the pandemic and the fact that we cannot be together person to person. So appreciate all of you that showed up on Zoom tonight, and know that we don't really have to be next to one another to be connected. We can always join with one another through our intention. I know that there's a lot of fear and uncertainty out there right now. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the future holds, and that creates a lot of anxiety for a lot of people. So I just want to begin by sending you all my heartfelt love and wish for your good health and your safety. So I know you're taking good care of yourselves. And actually, when I was thinking about creating the ceremony tonight, I was thinking about the fact that there is so much uncertainty out there, and how we're all doing what we can to protect ourselves with masks and sequestering in our homes and social distancing. But I was wanting to bring to your attention the fact that there's another level of protection that we can invoke at this time. And I'd like to share this with you before we start our talk on Taurus and the Wesak festival. This is an ancient formula, and it sort of affirms that we state our intention to stand with the light, to stand with the forces of light, to take our stand there and to invoke that light into our being. And so I wanted to share it with you because I think it's just a deeper level of protection that we can use in these times that is a little different than just our physical protective attempts to be safe. So it begins by taking your thumb and your first two fingers, and you touch those to your forehead. This esoterically stands for the Trinity, the spirit and matter and the soul. So we take those three fingers and we place them on the Ajna center, which is the center between the eyebrows, also called the third eye. And we say, as a soul, I work in light. And then we take our fingers and we place them in the center of our chest. And darkness cannot touch me. And then we place our fingers over the left eye. I take my stand within the light. And then over the right eye, I work, and from that point, I never move. So we're basically making the sign of the cross, which is a wonderful protection in itself. But I just wanted to share that with you because I think I've been using it myself, and it feels very powerful. And it's just reaching into the spiritual realms rather than just taking care of ourselves physically. So tonight the format's going to be a little bit different than normal. Usually at the full moon ceremonies, I spend most of my time talking about astrology and the transits and the aspects. And I want to do a little of that tonight. But I also came into this ceremony remembering about the fear and the anxiety that's out there, and wanting to share things with you that might help uplift you or make you feel less anxious, reassure you. So I'm going to be quoting 3 different quotes that I found inspiring. I thought I might share them with you tonight. So we will talk a little bit about Taurus and the Wesak festival. So the sun entered the sign of Taurus on April 19th. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't usually feel the shift that dramatically, but this time I felt it really dramatically. Coming out of the energy of Aries, which is dynamic and, initiative and pushing and manifesting and just very high energy, fiery energy. which is not my temperament. So it's always a little bit jagging for me, like just, it doesn't sit very well with me. So I'm always a little bit more restless. And then when the sun moved into the Taurus, it was just like, oh, I felt I could take a deep breath and just kind of settle into the ground. Well, Taurus is an earth sign, so it's a sign of being very grounded. And we'll talk about that a little bit in just a minute. But tomorrow on May 7th at 3:45 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, we are going to celebrate this powerful Wesak full moon. And we're told in the ancient wisdom teachings that this is the most powerful full moon of the entire year. It's a time when the Christ and the Buddha meet in the Wesak Valley in Tibet. And together they blend their energies, the wisdom of the Buddha and the love of the Christ. And these energies are then distributed to all of humanity at the Gemini Full Moon Festival. So this is a moment of great potency, of great power. We become the recipients of this powerful downpouring of spiritual energy. So tonight, as I said, in our meditation, we'll travel to the Wesak Valley to participate in this sacred ceremony. So the sun is in the sign of Taurus and the moon is in the sign of Scorpio. So that might be another reason why I felt it so strongly, because I'm a Scorpio, I have a Scorpio sun. But also these are very different energies. And so the energies of Scorpio, if you've been coming to my full moon meditations or following them, you know that in the month of Scorpio, we spend a lot of time in the underworld, in the darkness, down there digging up whatever is in need of redeeming and redemption, all of our shadow stuff, all of the conflicts and obstacles that keep us from a deeper alignment with our soul. That's what we face in Scorpio. So Taurus comes in and brings the illuminating light that Taurus is. It's all about light and illumination. In fact, one of the mantras for Taurus is, I see, and when the eye is opened, all is illumined. So Taurus can bring this sort of solid light illuminating to help the Scorpio through his journey through the underworld, to shed light, to illumine the soul. So Taurus is also known as a sign of desire, because on the personality level, the Taurian person believes very strongly that their security lies in what they can accumulate in the material world. They're really into beauty and form and everything in the physical world. Of course, it's an earth sign, so that would make sense. But on a higher turn of the spiral, once the Taurus personality begins to be infused by the light of the soul, that desire turns to aspiration. And now the Taurus person is on a journey to aspire to a higher set of values, the values of the soul. And the reason that this full moon is so strongly associated with the Buddha, beside the fact that he appears in the Wesak Valley, we're told that he was born and died and reached enlightenment, all under the sign of Taurus. So again, the mantra, I see, and when the eye is opened, all is illumined. And we see with this third eye. This third eye is sometimes called the eye of the bull, and the symbol for Taurus is that head with the horns coming up like that. And so this is the eye of the bull. This is the Ajna center, and when that is open, we see with our spiritual eyes and not just the eyes of our physical body. We're able to really see the essence in other people, to see their divinity. Our etheric vision is stimulated, so we can see the etheric body of people and things. And so we have a better understanding of how we're all connected. And I think when we look around at the world today, we can see how desperately the world needs this illumination and needs this light and wisdom. And tonight, we're blessed to be able to receive this illuminating light in our meditation time. But I want us to also remember that we are not just receivers, we are also transmitters of this light. You know, we take this light into ourselves, and consciously and with intention, we radiate that light out into the world. And that is an act of service to humanity. But to be an effective light in the world, I think that we have to be really vigilant about controlling our emotional and mental bodies. I mean, don't you find that true right now, especially in these days where there's so much chaos? It's so easy to get sucked into that vortex of fear and anxiety and frustration and just anxious and uncertain. So I think that we're being asked to stand in that light and to never move as much as we can, to stay steady in that light and just be vigilant about not getting sucked in to that outside drama and chaos. You know, it requires that we be mindful. We have to, first of all, notice when we're going there. You know, notice when we're starting to get hooked into fear or anxiety. Notice when our thoughts are going around in crazy loops and we can't stop thinking. And once we notice that, we can then call in the illumination of the soul to give us a different perspective and to quiet down our physical and emotional and mental bodies. So I'm not going to talk anymore about Taurus. We'll participate in the festival a little bit later, but I wanted to share now with you a few of the quotes that I came across while I was preparing for this talk. And I want to say something about listening to quotes, because I don't know if you're like me, but when I listen to quotes, I can sometimes just kind of check out, because I don't know, something about somebody reading something to me that just kind of creates this veil. So I'd like to invite you to relax and settle in, maybe even close your eyes if that helps, and just let the words kind of flow into you, not focusing or struggling to understand, just trusting that the words will wash over you and you'll take away from it whatever it is that you need to hear, whatever it is that makes sense to you. So this first quote is from David Spangler, who is a spiritual teacher. Many of you may know of him. He lives in this area. And he has this wonderful gift of being able to connect with the subtle realms. And when he connects with a being from the subtle realms, he calls them his inner colleague. So this particular inner colleague is called Muriel. And they were having a discussion about climate change. And so this quote is really addressing climate change, but what she has to say fits so profoundly into what we're going through right now that I thought it would be helpful for you to hear. So, quote, "Do you fear the collapse of your civilization as it proves inadequate to the changes that are happening in the world? Far better to fear the collapse of hope. Far better to fear the collapse of joy. Far better to be alarmed at the collapse of imagination and creativity. For these are the qualities that you will need to change your direction in the world. The loss of your coastlines to a rising sea is nothing compared to the loss of your capacity to love and to find wholeness within yourself and within your world. Humans are not facing challenges of ecology. You are facing challenges of psychology. Your inner climate is racked with storms of fear and anger, hatred and revenge, this is where change must happen. It is how you think of yourselves that must transform. What can you do to change your inner climate? End quote. What can we do to change our inner climate? How can we keep hope alive, joy alive? How can we keep our creative juices flowing and our imagination active while all this is going on around us? Well, one way that I have found helpful, and you've probably heard me say this a million times, but I'm going to repeat it anyway, is to hold a vision of what's possible. You know, we're living in amazing times. A new civilization is really trying to emerge here. We're birthing a new age. So how can we traverse the burning ground? How can we manage these birth pangs when it's so painful and so uncomfortable? Well, I would invite you to lift up your gaze and hold your mind steady in the light. Use your creative imagination to envision this new Aquarian age that's emerging, and then lean into that when feelings of hopelessness or despairing. Let that be foremost in your consciousness. Remember what you are birthing. And also remember to look around and see the beauty that is always there. There's never just one thing happening. I know it can feel sometimes like, I am this fear, I am this anxiety, that's all I am right now. But you know, if you just pause, acknowledge it, and then lift your gaze up and look around. It's spring. It's beautiful out there. There's flowers, there's blooms, there's buds. Everything is bursting into life. And Taurus is the sign that most honors beauty. So can we turn our gaze there and remember the larger picture that the earth is evolving. Humanity is moving forward despite all appearances. And the great ones are there to support us. We are not alone in this. Here are some of their words. Quote, "It would bring such hope and release from the great insecurities of our time to know there is a plan of love and light guiding humanity. This is a destiny that we all share. An open mind, an awakened heart is necessary to be able to sense the presence of the spiritual hierarchy in human affairs. But the work of the many inspired servers of humanity is testament to the fact that an inner government is guiding humanity forward. These great lives have to be invoked by humanity, for divine law decrees that human free will is never impinged upon. And so the silent watchers must remain behind the scenes until the mass invocation of humanity strikes a powerful chord of resonance. When that happens, they will again appear on earth along with the world teacher." End quote. So, for some of us, this may require a leap of faith to really believe in a plan of love and light guiding humanity. I mean, we look around and we say, yeah, right. There's a plan. What's going on here? This can't be anybody's idea of a plan. I occasionally go there myself, and I have learned to call this part of myself my doubting Thomas part. So when that comes forth for me, I have decided to use the mantra, I choose to believe. I choose to believe. And it doesn't have to be this philosophy that you choose to believe in. You can believe in whatever philosophy, I think, whatever philosophy gives you a sense of peace and opens your heart and fills your life with more compassion and understanding and tolerance. And then rest in that. I choose to believe. I mean, it makes me feel very hopeful when I believe that there's an underlying plan that's working itself out and that we have help, that we aren't in this alone. So I choose to believe that we're not alone in this struggle. And I choose to believe the spiritual law of invocation and evocation that tells us that whatever we invoke in the name of love, will evoke a response from the great ones. Invocation, evocation. The great ones don't work without our invocative cry. So we invoke in the name of love, and we always get a response. I choose to believe that. It's the power of our full moon gatherings when we come together in a group with a united intention to be open and receptive. And then we invoke through the great invocation, the world prayer, the aid of the great ones. That forms a powerful magnetic force that goes up into the spiritual realms and allows a portal to open between the realms and allows that channel to be open for the downpouring of the energies. That's how they participate with us. And the spiritual realms are always very, very close to the earth at the time of the full moon. So our invocative appeal can have a great impact. So tonight we will invoke the aid of the great ones and we'll ask them to pour down their illuminating light upon us. The spirit of love manifesting as brotherhood and the will to good and right human relationships. And I'd like to end with this quote, again from the great ones, the masters of wisdom, called the hierarchy. And the hierarchy is just a group of beings who have all been in human bodies. They've walked the earth dimension, and they've just elevated themselves to a higher level of consciousness than most of us have. And so they have made the commitment to stay with the earth until, they say, the last weary pilgrim has come home. So that's the hierarchy. So here's a quote from them. Quote, I would therefore ask you to steel your souls to endurance, knowing that the hierarchy stands. I would ask you to love blindly and unchangingly in spite of all that may happen, knowing that love stands unmoved amid the wreckage of all around and eternally loves. I would ask you to put your hand into that of the Master and move forward with him and in the strength of your group, irradiated by the life and light of the hierarchy. I would ask you to be a strong hand in the dark to your fellow men, because you are affiliated with the hierarchy, and the love and strength of the hierarchy can flow through you if you so permit. I would remind you in this time of trial that I, your Master, love and guard you. For your soul and my soul are one soul. Be not unduly disturbed. There is no light or dark to the soul, but only existence and love. Rest back on that. There is no separation, but only identification with the heart of all love. The more you love, the more love can reach out through you to others. The spiritual effort you are asked to make is that of developing yourself into a vibrant and powerful center of that fundamental universal love. End quote. That's the only spiritual effort we're being asked to do, is to be the love that we are. Let us prepare now for our meditation, which will take us to the Wesak Valley, deep in the Himalayan mountains, to witness and participate in this beautiful ceremony between the Buddha and the Christ. I would ask you to take a moment now. I forgot to ask you to do this before. But if you would go and get yourself a glass of water, because we're going to use this water as part of our ceremony. So we're going to pause for just a moment or two to allow you to go and get some water, and then we'll be right back. All right, let's begin. So make sure that you are seated comfortably, closing your eyes, sitting quietly and breathing gently and rhythmically. Now breathe a silent Om into your physical, mental, and emotional bodies. Notice how it feels to have these three bodies quiet, still, quiescent, and aligned. The spiritual realms are very close to us on this powerful day. Let those great beings know that you are sending up an invocative appeal for them to pour down these energies upon the earth. In your mind's eye, imagine a portal, a doorway opening to the spiritual realms, and see these energies pouring through that portal into your body, through the crown chakra. You are literally breathing into your body the Turian energies of illumination and aspiration. Ask that the light of Taurus and the wisdom of the Buddha illuminate your being. Now imagine that these same forces of illumined energy are streaming forth through pathways of light into all the hearts and minds of humanity, infusing them with the goodwill needed to create loving and harmonious human relationships and a climate for positive social change. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in our hearts, through our groups, and throughout the world. Now, breathing that light back into your body, let us travel as illumined beings to the Wesak Valley. We're going to travel far away to the Himalayan mountains on the border of Tibet. In the middle of this mountain range, there is a sacred valley where pilgrims from all over the world are gathering to celebrate this special Wesak festival. See if you can imagine yourself there in this sacred valley, surrounded by disciples and pilgrims, all waiting in anticipation for the Buddha and the Christ. This valley is shaped like a bottle that is wider at the south end and narrowing at the northeast end. The narrow end reminds one of a passageway. It is, in fact, the entrance into this sacred valley. As you look around, you notice the ground is covered with short, coarse grass, and the sides of the mountain are covered with trees. The air smells fresh and sweet, and there's a feeling of expectancy in the air as the pilgrims begin to gather. At the northeast end of the valley, where the passageway begins to narrow, there is a massive stone altar. Placed on top of the altar is a great crystal bowl filled with water. Standing in front of the altar, facing the opening of the passageway with their backs to the crowd, stand those beings who are called by their disciples the three great lords. These are the Christ, who stands at the center, the Manu, the Lord of living forms, who stands to the right of the Christ, and the Lord of civilization, who stands on his left. Behind the three great lords are grouped the masters, adepts, initiates, and senior workers. Joined with them there are the world disciples, aspirants, and the new group of world servers. Some of these pilgrims are here in their physical bodies, some in their spiritual bodies, and others are here in the dream state. Take a moment to feel the excitement building as we all wait expectantly for the moment of great blessing. As the hour of the full moon approaches, a stillness settles down upon the crowd, and all look toward the northeast. Watch now as the group of masters and their disciples begin what looks like a synchronized dance. They move with deliberation and purpose as they begin to form on the floor of the valley significant symbols, such as the Star of David, with the Christ at the apex, or a triangle with the Christ at the highest point, or a cross. They move with ease and beauty as they create these well-known formations, all of which have a deep and potent meaning. Listen to the sounds of them chanting the sacred words called mantras as they move. And now begin to feel the expectancy in the crowd becoming very great. The moment is approaching, and the tension is real and increasing. See if you can feel the potency of the vibration moving through you as it moves through the entire body of people gathered here. This vibration has the effect of awakening and quickening the soul of all who are present, fusing and blending the group into one united whole, and lifting all into a great act of spiritual demand, readiness, and expectancy. It is the climax of the world's aspiration, focused in this waiting group. These three words, demand, readiness, and expectancy, best describe the atmosphere surrounding those present in this secret valley. The chanting and the rhythmic weaving grow stronger, and all the participants and the watching crowd raise their eyes towards the sky in the direction of the narrow part of the valley. Just a few minutes before the exact time of the full moon, in the far distance, a tiny speck can be seen in the sky. It comes nearer and grows in clarity and definiteness of outline until the form of the Buddha can be seen, seated in the cross-legged Buddha position, clad in his saffron-colored robe, bathed in light and color, and with his hand extended in blessing. When he arrives at a point exactly over the great rock, hovering there in the air over the heads of the three great lords, a great mantram, used only once a year at this festival, is intoned by the Christ, and the entire group of people in the valley fall upon their faces. Imagine now the entire valley filling with the light of the Buddha's blessing. Imagine the room where you are sitting, filled with that same light, radiating into every corner of your space, filling it with this powerful light. Imagine it filling you with that same light, touching each cell in your body, filling you with radiance. The power of this group and its invocative appeal set up a great vibration that is of such great potency that it reaches up to God. This blessing then comes forth as a spiritual vitalization of humanity, and the effect lasts throughout the entire year. The blessing is poured forth, and the Christ, as the representative of humanity, receives it in trust for distribution. Thus, so the legend runs. The Buddha returns once a year to bless the world, transmitting through the Christ renewed spiritual life. Slowly then the Buddha recedes into the distance until again only a faint speck can be seen in the sky, and this eventually disappears. The whole ceremonial blessing, from the time of the first appearance in the distance until the moment the Buddha fades out of view, takes just 8 minutes. The Buddha's annual sacrifice for humanity, for he comes back only at a great cost, is over, and he returns again to that high place where he works and waits. Year after year, he comes back in blessing. Year after year, he and his great brother, the Christ, work in the closest cooperation for the spiritual benefit of humanity. In these two great sons of God have been focused two aspects of divine life, and they act together as custodians of the highest type of spiritual force to which our humanity can respond. Through the Buddha, the wisdom of God is poured forth. Through the Christ, the love of God is manifested to humanity. And it is this wisdom and this love which pour forth upon humankind at each Wesak full moon. When the Buddha has again disappeared, the crowd rises to their feet. The water in the bowl is distributed in tiny portions to the masters, initiates, and disciples, and they then go their way to their place of service. The crowd, who have all brought their little cups and vessels of water, drink from them and share with others. Imagine yourself now walking up to that great stone altar and dipping your cup into the sacred water. Sip it slowly and allow its potency to fill your body. In this beautiful water ceremony of communion, we have preserved for us in symbol an indication of the new age which is today upon us, the Aquarian age, the age of the water carrier. It is the age of the man bearing a pitcher of water. In this ceremony, there is perpetuated for us the story of the universality of God's love, the need for our individual purification, and the opportunity to share with each other that which belongs to all. The water, which has been magnetized by the presence of the Buddha and of the Christ, carries certain properties and virtues of a healing and helpful nature. Thus blessed, the crowd silently disperses. The masters and the disciples return with renewed strength to undertake another year of world service. So runs the ancient legend. Sit for a moment now and allow yourself to be open and receptive to these potent energies coming from the Buddha and the Christ. Be as a chalice, ready to receive, ready to ground these energies into the earth. Be still for just a few moments. And now, take a deep breath and allow your awareness to return to the physical world. Know that you now carry the influence of the Festival of Wesak within you, to be used for the unfolding of your spiritual nature. Feel joy in your heart and give thanks. And now, seated in your own space, I will ask you to raise up your cup of water that has been blessed by the Buddha and the Christ, and repeat these words. With love, I accept the blessings of the Buddha. This force blends with the love of the Christ to aid in the stimulation of the Christ within me. The water, a symbol of spiritual essence, channels love, awakens my nature, and bears wisdom. Take and drink with gratitude. Take just a few sips. Then raise your cup a second time and think of an area in your life that is in need of healing. The water now is very potent. It has the healing energy of the Buddha and the Christ. As you take this second drink, ask that it be used for your own healing. With this last sip, ask that the energy from this water be used for the healing of humanity, of our earth, of every kingdom in nature, animal, vegetable, and mineral. You are now filled, my friends, with light, love, and power. Now it is your responsibility to safeguard these energies from any misuse. So I would invite you to go forth this month with harmlessness as your intent. Namaste. And let us close with the Great Invocation. And the Great Invocation is really, we're told, the most powerful way we can invoke the aids of the Great Ones is called a world prayer. So as you're speaking these words, think of it as an appeal to the Great Ones to pour down upon us their love and their light and their illuminating energy. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. So again, let's be mindful that we now hold within us some very powerful energies. And let us commit to not wasting them or misusing them in any way. Just holding them within yourself for a time. And let harmlessness be your intention as you walk through this month. May you be safe, may you be well, may you be the love that you are. See you next time.